At the end of a difficult day, the mind often keeps working long after the work itself has finished. It revisits conversations, predicts what other people might do, and tries to solve outcomes that have not happened yet. The Stoics understood this habit well, and they offered a practical way to interrupt it. Epictetus begins the Enchiridion with the foundation of Stoic practice. Some things are in our control, and others not. He then explains that our opinions, pursuits, desires, aversions, and actions belong to us, while the body, property, reputation, positions of authority, and everything dependent on other people or circumstances do not fully belong to us. This is usually called the dichotomy of control. It sounds simple, but applying it carefully can change the way you handle almost every problem. Suppose you are waiting for someone to make a decision. You can explain yourself clearly, provide useful information, follow up at an appropriate time, and behave with patience. Their final answer belongs to them. Continuing to rehearse the situation after you have done your part adds strain without improving the result. A useful evening exercise is to take one concern and divide it into 2 columns. In the first, write what is up to you. In the second, write what depends on other people, timing, chance, or nature. Then turn the first column into one practical action for tomorrow. The second column receives no further work tonight. Epictetus said that the things within our control are, by nature, free, unrestrained, unhindered. He was pointing to a form of freedom that remains available even when circumstances are difficult. Your first preference may be blocked, but your ability to respond with good judgment remains. Another person may behave poorly, but your conduct is still yours. A plan may change, but the qualities you bring to the new situation remain within reach. This is where the 4 Stoic virtues become useful. Wisdom helps you distinguish what is up to you from what is not. Courage helps you do the difficult part that is yours. Justice reminds you to deal fairly with the people involved. Moderation keeps your reactions proportionate, so one setback does not consume the entire evening. These virtues are not abstract ideals reserved for philosophers. They are practical standards for choosing the next action. If a colleague criticizes your work, wisdom asks whether any part of the criticism is true. Courage allows you to hear the answer without protecting your ego. Justice keeps you from attacking the person simply because the message was uncomfortable. Moderation helps you respond at the right level rather than turning one comment into a judgment about your entire ability. Marcus Aurelius used the virtues in exactly this practical way. When considering an unwelcome event, he asked whether it could prevent him from being just, magnanimous, temperate, prudent. The point was direct. If the event cannot stop you from practicing good character, then it has not taken away your most important capacity. This changes the question from "How do I make everything go my way?" to "How can I meet this well?" The first question depends on the world cooperating. The second depends mainly on you. You can test this with whatever has been occupying your mind today. Ask whether it prevents you from being wise, courageous, fair, or self-controlled. In most cases, the answer is clear. The situation may be inconvenient, disappointing, or painful, but the next good response remains available. This distinction also prevents passivity. Letting go of control does not mean doing nothing. It means acting fully where action is possible and refusing to waste energy pretending that anxiety controls the rest. A Stoic can care deeply, prepare carefully, and work hard, while accepting that outcomes have many causes. Your job is to contribute your part well. The outcome is information. If it goes well, continue with gratitude. If it goes poorly, learn, adjust, and try again where reason supports another attempt. Epictetus summarized this attitude with a challenging sentence. Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. This does not mean approving of injustice or abandoning improvement. It means beginning with reality as it is, because effective action can only begin from there. Tonight, identify the reality of your situation without adding a story to it. Name the facts, identify what is yours, and choose one useful action. Once that is done, continued mental effort becomes unnecessary. You have converted worry into a plan and returned the rest to the world where it belongs. The dichotomy of control tells you where to place your effort. The next Stoic tool helps you think clearly before deciding what an event means. Epictetus advised his students to say to every harsh appearance, "You are but an appearance, and not absolutely the thing you appear to be." He then told them to examine whether it concerned something within their control. If it did not, they should be prepared to say, "It is nothing to me." That final phrase can sound cold until it is understood properly. "This is nothing to me" does not mean that people, health, work, or relationships are worthless. It means that an external event cannot decide your moral character for you. It belongs to the category of things you may prefer or avoid, but it does not determine whether you act well. Imagine that someone has not replied to an important message. The fact is simple: no reply has arrived. The mind may add that they are disrespecting you, that the relationship is damaged, or that a bad outcome is certain. Those additions are impressions, not established facts. The Stoic practice is to pause between the event and the conclusion. Ask 3 questions. What do I know? What am I adding? What action fits my values? Perhaps you know only that the message remains unanswered. You may be adding a story about the reason. The action that fits your values might be a calm follow-up tomorrow, followed by attention to the rest of your responsibilities. This response uses wisdom, moderation, and respect without giving an uncertain event control over your evening. Epictetus wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things." This is not a claim that pain is imaginary. It is a reminder that events and judgments are different. The event deserves an appropriate response. The judgment deserves examination. This tool is especially useful with reputation. You can speak honestly, behave fairly, use valid criticism, and correct mistakes, while accepting that another person's interpretation remains their own. Marcus Aurelius compared good character to an emerald whose value does not depend on praise. An honest act remains honest before anyone applauds it. The same discipline applies to the past. Regret can provide information. Perhaps an apology is needed, a habit should change, or a lesson deserves to be remembered. Once the lesson becomes action, repeated self-punishment adds nothing useful. Marcus Aurelius compared the ruling mind to a fire that takes what falls into it and uses the material to rise higher. This is a practical model of resilience. A mistake becomes material for better judgment. Disappointment becomes practice in steadiness. A difficult person becomes an opportunity to combine courage with justice. Epictetus offered a similar exercise. With every accident, ask yourself what abilities you have for making a proper use of it. If someone speaks harshly, patience may be the ability required. If a decision is uncertain, steadiness may be required. If you made an error, honesty and courage may be the right tools. The question is not whether you wanted the event. The question is which human ability the event gives you a chance to practice. Another useful discipline is the reserve clause. The Stoics pursued goals with the understanding that success also depends on factors beyond them. In modern language, you might say, "I intend to finish this tomorrow if circumstances allow," or "I will have the conversation and aim for understanding while accepting that the other person chooses their response." The phrase, "if circumstances allow," does not weaken commitment. It makes commitment realistic. An archer controls the training, preparation, aim, and release. Once the arrow leaves the bow, wind and movement also affect where it lands. The archer's excellence lies in performing the shot well, learning from the result, and improving the next attempt. This is why Stoic acceptance is active rather than passive. You see the situation clearly, avoid confusing impressions with facts, choose a response guided by virtue, and remain flexible about the result. That is a demanding practice, but it is far more useful than trying to control everything through repeated thought. Before moving on, take the concern you identified earlier and examine the impression attached to it. Separate the fact from the story. Decide which virtue the situation calls for and state tomorrow's action in one sentence. Then allow the problem to remain where you have placed it. It has received the amount of attention it can use tonight. Stoicism begins with self-command, but it does not end with personal calm. The goal is to live according to nature, and the Stoics believed that human nature is rational and social. We are capable of thinking, choosing, cooperating, and helping one another. Marcus Aurelius wrote that rational beings exist for one another. Elsewhere, he gave himself a simple instruction: towards human beings, as they have reason, behave in a social spirit. For Marcus, a good response was not merely one that protected his peace, it also had to respect his responsibilities to other people. This matters when applying the dichotomy of control. It would be easy to misuse the idea by saying that another person's problems are outside your control and therefore irrelevant. Stoicism asks a better question: what helpful action is mine? You cannot control whether a friend follows your advice, but you can listen carefully and speak honestly. You cannot control every result at work, but you can keep your promises and make your contribution useful. You cannot make another person act fairly, but you can practice justice in the way you respond. Marcus wrote, "That which is not good for the swarm, neither is it good for the bee." A life guided only by private comfort would fall short of Stoic nature. Human excellence includes cooperation, service, fairness, and concern for the whole. The four virtues give this social nature a practical structure. Wisdom helps you understand what would genuinely help rather than acting from impulse. Courage allows you to have necessary conversations and stand beside people when doing so is uncomfortable. Justice asks you to respect the dignity and legitimate interests of others. Moderation prevents anger, pride, fear, or appetite from taking over the response. Marcus observed that people often act from what appears useful to them, even when their judgment is mistaken. He advised, "Teach them then, and show them without being angry." This is practical advice for dealing with difficult behavior. Correct what you can, protect appropriate boundaries, and remember that anger is not required for firmness. He also wrote, "The best way of avenging thyself is not to become like the wrongdoer. If another person behaves dishonestly, their action does not require dishonesty from you. If they lose self-control, you do not have to join them. Their conduct is theirs. Your response remains the place where virtue can operate." This does not mean tolerating abuse or avoiding consequences. Justice may require a firm refusal, distance, or protection for someone vulnerable. Courage supports that action. Moderation keeps it measured, and wisdom chooses the method most likely to help. At the end of the day, a short Stoic review can strengthen these habits. Seneca described examining his conduct each evening. You can do the same with 3 practical questions. Where did I act according to my values? Where did I hand control of my mood to something external? What will I practice tomorrow? Keep the review specific rather than judging the whole day as good or bad. Perhaps you remained patient during a delay, reacted too quickly to a message, or avoided a conversation that requires courage. Recognize what went well, learn from what did not, and decide where wisdom, courage, justice, or moderation should guide tomorrow's response. This review turns philosophy into training. Stoicism is learned through repeated choices rather than admiration for quotations. The purpose of reading Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, or Seneca is to practice what they practiced, directing attention, examining judgments, acting for the common good, and accepting outcomes once a worthy effort has been made. Bring the lesson together with one concern from today. First, separate what is up to you from what is not. Second, examine the impression and remove any story unsupported by facts. Third, choose the virtue the situation requires. Fourth, decide on one action that is useful to another person or consistent with your responsibilities. Finally, add the reserve clause and accept that the result has causes beyond your own effort. That is the practical discipline of letting go. It means giving full attention to your judgment, intention, and conduct, while allowing reputation, timing, other people, and final outcomes to remain outside your command. Your work tonight is therefore clear. Keep what belongs to you: your judgment, your purpose, your conduct, and your willingness to help. Release what belongs to the wider world. Tomorrow, act with wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation. Then allow the outcome to show you what to do next. The day is complete. Its lessons have been collected, and the remaining questions can wait for better information. Enjoy the evening with a quieter mind, ready to meet tomorrow as a rational and social human being. Attentive to your choices, helpful to others, and steady about what lies beyond your control.